Alright, we're back, and today we are going to go over how to write some basic macros. Okay, so first off, if we're going to make a macro to swap our equipment, like I was explaining yesterday, we have a shield. Yeah, it's pretty crappy, but who cares for now. We don't have a one-handed weapon, so I'm just gonna go buy a cheap one-handed weapon from the auction house, just so I can show you guys how this is done. And then we're going to go into writing like some of the basic macros to cast spells or caster moves. Okay, let's see here. Not bad. Okay, almost paid for the sword, right? Okay, so now that we have an actual weapon, so we're not doing nugget damage, and we have a shield. Don't really care to buy another shield right now because I'm not going to be running a shield right now. I'm most likely going to be running this two-handed weapon here because of the stats on it. Let's keep that somewhere where we don't accidentally move it or sell it, because that'll mess up our macro. Let's move that out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to go into our option screen and hit macros. And we're going to start with the equipment one. And we're going to do character specific. So we're going to hit new. And this is the fun part. You get to choose an icon and description. Fun for me. I don't know about you guys. So for the first one, we're going to stick with a two-hander, and it's a mace. So I'm probably going to use that just so I know exactly what it is right away. Or we can go with something else. Doesn't really matter. Let's go with items. You know what, we'll just do something like this because that looks cool. So we'll pick that. Just gonna name it something generic like two-hander. So that tells us right away it's our two-handed weapon. Hit OK. And this part's pretty easy. So anytime you want to equip weapons, it's slash equip. And then you have to hit a space. And what you can do is if you want to equip something that's in your character slot, you just hit shift and you left click it, and then it populates right there. Simple as that. So we can save that, and we can test it by removing it, slot it on our action bar. So we have nothing in the slot now, right? So when we click it, it equips it. So that's a simple macro that we can use when we want to switch weapons and gear. The only thing is, like I said before, when I played this like years ago, you were allowed to actually swap gear and item sets and weapons while you were in combat. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what it says on the internet. You were able to do that like back in 2008, because I was doing it. I guess enough people complained. Maybe they figured it was cheap. You know what? I think it was just being smart, because I had some really decent stats on my two-handed weapon that gave me a lot of extra health. So what I was doing is I had my two-handed weapon, and I was monitoring how much health how much damage the target was doing to me, if it was PvP or more mobs or whatever. And once they got within that range where my one-handed and shield setup gave me the same amount of health, I would swap. So that way, in essence, I didn't lose any health at all, and I turtled up. They now disallowed that, I think. So you can't swap while you're in combat, which kind of sucks. Again, I think it shouldn't really matter considering everyone else has this ability. I mean, everyone has access to making macros. So why not utilize as much as you can to min-max everything, right? But you can't do it anymore, so you know what, we'll just move on. Who cares, right? At least you can have things on the ready, so that way you don't have to go in and move things or right click it. You know, it's making it convenient. That's the whole point of a macro. I guess they're really strict on like any kind of automation, so that's pretty much why you can't do that kind of stuff while you're in combat, which again is fine, whatever, right? So we got our first macro down. So the next one we're gonna do is we're gonna make one for our one hand sword and our shield. So we're gonna click new again. And I like usually picking a shield icon just so I can identify what it really means. Some pretty cool art in this game, I think. There we go. So we'll just pick something basic like, I don't know, like that. For you Trekkies out there. And we're going to do the same thing. So this one I think matters a little bit more. Because if you're trying to equip the shield first, I can't remember if it messes up or if you should really equip the sword first. I remember that used to cause issues. Sometimes it wouldn't work, especially if you're trying to equip the two-handed weapon. But yeah, we'll just go with the sword first because it's in the sword slot. And slash equip space and then shift click your shield, and that should work. So let's save that. Let's test it out. So there we go. Like I was saying, it doesn't work right away. Oh, that's why. Never mind, my bad. I didn't even bind it to myself yet. So let's test this out again. Make sure it's working pretty good. There we go. And when we want to turtle up, it's a click of a button. Again, you got to do it out of combat. But yeah. So we have our first macros, right? The next one's gonna be a little more involved. The one I was talking about yesterday. We're gonna make one for our judgment move. So I tested it out earlier ahead of time just to make sure it actually does work, and it does. It allows you to do 2 simultaneous casts in succession. It's been a while since I did this. I mean, I do remember adding like some kind of buffer time zone. Sorry, not time zone, a buffer of like a few seconds. I can't remember if you were able to do that, because I did notice that if you try to make some complicated macros, the timing was everything, and it would literally try to swap everything like in microseconds and nanoseconds. So for example, if you wanted to cast Seal the Crusader and then hit Judgment, sometimes it wouldn't even work. It would say it's not ready, spell not ready yet, or whatever, because it's still trying to cast the first spell. But I don't know if that exists anymore, if you can have anything in terms of like slash wait. I don't think that's what it was. It's like I said, it's been a while, but I was testing it earlier, and it does happen where you're trying to have 2 spells again casted in succession, and the second one won't work because the first one was still, I guess it's kind of overlapping in I guess in a fraction of a second. But we're gonna do it anyway, and we're gonna try and fix it if that happens. So we're gonna hit new again, and this time we're gonna go for spells. And I like to pick something that correlates with the moves. So Seal of Righteousness is really what we're trying to do here to eliminate us having to press that every single time. So I'm not going to use the same exact icon, but I'm going to use something similar. I remember there was like a judgment spell that was red, but I didn't see it when I was on here earlier just testing it out. But we'll pick something else. Whatever catches your eye, I guess. Can go with that. And we're just gonna call it That way it's self-explanatory. It's a judgment, and then it's casting Seal of Righteousness. So for this, you want /cast. And I mean, if you ever are specifically concerned about certain spells, or if you're not even a paladin, you know, Google's your friend, AI is your friend now. That's why I'm not going to go too in depth in this. But you'll see me making different macros as we go along, as we progress. But I mean, that's why I don't care to do a full walkthrough for these kinds of things. I mean, there's a whole bunch of videos already online, on YouTube and so on. But yeah, this is the basics, right? So /cast, and then we're gonna open our spell book, and we're gonna shift click our judgment. So it's gonna cast a judgment. Again, make sure you're in your character specific, not general macros, just in case you have other characters that you're making macros for. So cast judgment, and then every line basically is one command, right? So we're gonna do cast Seal of Righteousness. Now I know for a fact this works maybe like 7 out of 10 times, and then 3 out of 10 times, 30% of the time it's not working. It's gonna say spell's not ready or something like that. You'll see. So we're gonna test it out anyway in the field, and then when it doesn't work, we're gonna try and see if we can alter this, just to give like a fraction of a second between the two casts. Again, I don't remember if there's an actual move for that, because I was testing this out, switching auras and all these kinds of things, and I had to like input like a timer in there, like a fraction of a second. I was able to do it back then, but I don't think you can do that anymore. They're just like really strict on like automation and stuff like that, so I don't want anyone getting banned. So yeah, you can't do that. I mean, there's keyboards out there. Like I have a keyboard when I was playing BDO. You can create macros off the actual game itself, and then you can have like 1 button presses or 2 button presses, and it's going to do a full command. But again, I don't know if they're going to care about that or not. But I mean, I was able to do it in BDO as well. But yeah, so that's our simple command there that we're going to use, and I'm going to slide this on there. Normally using that there, we're just going to move this over to E, and that's it. So we're going to hit save. So now we can go in the field and we can test this out, right? I think I vaguely remember when I made these macros for equipment, you actually had to tell the macro what slot it was in your bag and what slot you wanted to go into the character, if it's slot 1 or slot 2 for the main and offhand. I think it was a little bit more complicated from what I remember, because I think it was having issues. Or it'll have issues, sorry, when you're having basically when you have 2 one-handed weapons, like a main and an offhand. So if you're dual wielding, I think that's when it becomes a problem, because you're gonna have to tell it which hand to go in, because it matters for like stats, especially if you're a rogue, and you need a dagger in the main hand to do certain moves. So you're gonna want to actually tell it which slot to go in. So let's test it out on this Dragonhawk here. I don't even know if he has enough life, but I'll let that person take that guy. So we're gonna hit our Seal of Crusader, so we're basically charged up, and we're gonna hit our judgment, and you see it didn't work. So we're gonna have to revamp that, which is fine. Oh, we leveled up, nice. Okay, so as you can see, it's not working. That's good. So that way we can go into it, and we can adjust this. So we go into this, cast judgment, and cast, that's our mistake right there. /cast, got ahead of ourselves. Okay, so let's try this again. So Seal the Crusader, we're gonna hit it, and there you go. You can see Seal of Righteousness is cast right away, right after. So it's working. But like I said, once every so often, maybe 30% of the time, it's not going to work. If it does, I'll show you what we can try next. You can even basically set casting sequences to stop and to reset. So if we hit a stop casting, I think it will cancel it. And there's simple fun macros you can make, like emotes and stuff like that. We'll probably do that later on, just for fun. Like if you want to wave, you can make a simple macro to wave. Bow, etc.
Glory to the Sindora.
What can I do for you?
Oh wow. What's a dwarf like you doing here? Oh, he's gotta show me something inside, okay. Looks like a price on your head. Alright, and we see it's working. So far it's working pretty good. Okay, got his head. So this is where Questy comes in again, like I said. Very useful. Right away we know which direction we have to go to. I mean, some purists of the game might see that as like cheesing it out, but whatever.
Our enemies will fall. We will have justice.
Two-hand. Yeah. That's pretty garbage. They're both garbage. I mean, which sells for more? This one, so we'll just choose that one.
Remember the sun well.
So that's another one too. So for example, Blessing of Might, you can, anytime it says friendly target, you can do it on yourself or obviously a friendly. Now, when you write macros for example, for that or for something else, let's say Blessing of Protection or whatever it's called, or the one where it increases all your stats, or it increases your regen rate for your mana. So those kinds of moves where you want to like basically target your friends, and let's say you can't, you don't have time to like click on them, you can write a macro for that as well. So that way you don't actually, accidentally cast it on yourself. Because sometimes there's a lot going on, especially when you're in like battlegrounds and you're PvPing, and you don't want to accidentally click on something, or even if you click on the wrong target, there's ways around that. If you're wondering why I still have this on my action bar, is because sometimes, even though we cast that and it automatically will cast our Seal of Righteousness, we don't need to cast Seal of Righteousness again right away. And they'll save mana, right? Because every time you cast Seal of Righteousness, it's 20 mana. So sometimes we'll just use the Judgment by itself. If you're wondering why I still have that on the bar. Or for other situations where you don't want to cast that for whatever reason.
I can't cast that yet.
So there we go. It didn't work, right?
Not ready yet. That's still recharging.
So that's good. You definitely want to get all the kinks out when you're writing macros early on versus having trouble with them later. Can't wait to get some more moves as well. So let's go into our macro screen. Let's grab this first, because I mean that's what we're here for. Alright. Looks like a pretty safe spot. So let's adjust that macro right now. See if this will help. So after that, we're going to hit enter. Then we're going to hit stop casting. And we're going to see if that works. What that will hopefully do is give the slightest delay between casting the Judgment and the Seal of Righteousness. The easiest thing to do is, as we keep leveling up the move, you don't have to go in the book. You can just change it to say rank 3. If you forget to do that, it'll stop working. Now, I don't remember if at level 9 you can't tame an animal yet, but that's probably why this hunter doesn't have anyone with them. Oops.
That's still recharging.
Yeah, as you can see, it's not working all the time.
Can't do that yet.
This is funny. At least it's working for the most part. Well, let's go ahead and use one of these. Get that out of the way. Let's test out well, I don't know about that, guys, but it's working, so I'm in combat. And you saw that it's working, so you know what? We'll just keep quiet about that one, and we'll just keep using it as much as we need to until they probably patch the game, someone bitches and complains, and, you know, whines. That's what they tend to do. And then you got patches, and then all of a sudden, a character that you're playing that was playing great is now nerfed just because other people keep losing to it. This game, I honestly think people should, instead of crying about stuff, they should just, they should really just learn how to adapt and become a better player for whatever situation they're in, right? But it's working, so you know what? We're just gonna run with that. Because like I said, I do remember playing the Burning Crusade back in the day when it came out, and it was that was retail, and it worked. So you saw it there; it's working in combat. Okay, I think I know what's happening here. So you can see that global cooldown. You gotta wait for that to actually reach a full 360 on there before you actually hit your macro. That's stopping it from working. I wonder if this is actually going to be faster. I'm just going to test this out here and swap that. Because you might not have to wait for the global cooldown, I'm not sure. If you do regardless, then it's working properly. It's just you're stuck waiting for that fraction of a few seconds there. Or fraction of a second, sorry. So there is a fraction where you can't use it. That's basically what's causing that issue. So, I mean, it is working perfectly fine. So we don't have to have that in there. It's really not causing anything. I'm going to keep one in there just in case, though. Just so it doesn't try to cast both in succession too fast, too quickly. As you can see, I'm losing a lot less health. Yeah, that's exactly why. Let's pull this guy a little farther away from him. Yeah, we're getting some lag again, unfortunately. And that's it. This area is clear. So let's just replace that. Yep, that's exactly why. So at least we figured out what the cause was. I dropped Malachite, nice. That's another move that you can turn into a macro, so if you can separate that from a no-brainer when you want to heal yourself or when you want to heal friends.
I can't cast that yet. That's still recharging.
Oh, that's looks like it's lagging again. It should really have the number in red there if you can't use it, but that's okay. Yeah, as you can see, it's working smooth now. We just wait for that to make its full rotation there to indicate that the cooldown is done and it's ready. And you shouldn't have any issues. So the macro's working, so everything seems to be working pretty good. When we start getting some more auras, we're gonna start incorporating that with our actual equipment. So it's gonna slash equip, and then it's gonna slash cast whatever aura you want. That's what I've done before, and it again, that needed a little bit of time, but there might be some other workaround that we can do with that as well. Whether it be casting the aura first and then swapping your gear. Okay, so I guess that's pretty much for today. We learned how to write some basic macros, some fun macros to swap your gear, and some basic casting macros. So if you've enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, just throw me a like and subscribe if you want to see some more videos in the future. And yeah, I hope that these videos help you out. Thanks, and see you in game. Later.